Each day we have the opportunity to choose where we want to live. Do you want to live on the island of I can? Or do you want to banish yourself to the Isle of I can't? The choice is yours. You have that power to choose. You can choose what you can and cannot accomplish, what you will and will not do. The choice is yours. It doesn't matter what your circumstances may be. It doesn't matter what your level of education may be. It does not matter at all about your background, your race, your religion, your ethnicity. Nothing about what has happened to you, the environment, or your parents or grandparents, or where you grew up, or what you have been taught. None of that can take away your power to choose. Thank you for listening to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast. I am your host, Jerald Simon. I'm an author, poet, and composer. I am the founder of Music Motivation and the creator of How to Play Piano, the Fun Way, featuring essential piano lessons and my best-selling Essential Piano Exercises series and course. Today's podcast is titled Choices, Consequences, and Change. So to start off with, I want to ask you a question. And I want you to honestly answer this question for yourself. Are you an I can or an I can't individual? Think about that question for a moment. Are you an I can or an I can't individual? For the positive perceptions portion of this podcast, I would like to read a parable that I wrote. This is from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. It is titled, The Island of I Can and the Isle of I Can't. Now, this is found on page 143. And again, it's from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. I'm going to read the entire parable in its entirety to you. It's only a few pages, but it's a story I wrote to teach values, principles, morals. And I want you to think about whether you are an I can or an I can't individual. Here is the island of I can and the Isle of I can't. In a not too distant part of the world, there was a big island, and a little beyond the island was a small isle. Both lands were beautiful. Both lands were abundant with natural resources, and both lands were inhabited with people. On the big island, the people were very productive and active. They never wasted their time or complained about the work they did. Everyone was very successful and accomplished so much. In addition to the great success of the people on the Big Island, they also had many hobbies, interests, and wonderful experiences. They lived life to its fullest. Their world was bright, beautiful, and a blessing because of their optimistic outlook on life. Everyone on the Big Island believed and knew they could accomplish anything they set out to accomplish, and knew they could become anyone they wanted to become. They all believed in themselves. The island was known as the Island of I Can. The little isle beyond the island, however, became known as the Isle of I Can't because of the negativity of the people who lived there. They, unfortunately, were not productive at all and thought they would fail if they attempted to do something they had never done before. As a result of this thinking, no one did anything because they would not challenge themselves and push the limits of possibility. To them, everything was impossible. The inhabitants on the Isle of I Can't were extremely jealous with everyone on the Island of I Can. They would often complain about how unjust it was and how the people on the Island of I Can had an unfair advantage over the people on the Isle of I Can't. I'm sure, they would often say, that if I lived on the Island of I Can, I would be very productive and extremely successful. Despite their complaints, no one ever suggested a plan that would help the people of I Can't. One bright and beautiful day, one of the islanders from the Island of I Can said, "I think we could send some of our I Can people to the Isle of I Can't to help them. Everyone on the island of I Can was excited. They genuinely wanted to help out the people of I Can't. Someone from the Isle of I Can't found out and said, "If people from the island of I Can are coming to our little isle, then we need to send people to their island as well. It's only fair. Besides, if we live on the island of I Can for a period of time, we will be as productive and prosperous as they are." It was agreed. A group of families, men, women, teens, and children from both the I Can Island and the Isle of I Can't traded places. It was an adventure. Now there were I Can Islanders on the Isle of I Can't, and there were also I Can't individuals on the island of I Can. Both groups decided to remain in their new area for 2 years, and then return and see how the groups were doing. 2 years later came sooner than either party had expected, and so they decided to return and report of their activities. The individuals originally from the Isle of I Can't sadly said life was as unproductive and unsuccessful on the island of I Can as it had been for them before on their own isle. At first, they felt as if they could change when they saw how excited and engaged the islanders were on the island of I Can. They make everything look easy on the island, but it's not. We can't do what they can, and we also can't stand how positive and optimistic everyone is. They honestly think they can do anything they put their mind to, simply by believing they can, and then doing it, one of the I Can't individuals said. Next, one of the I Can Islanders spoke up. "These last 2 years have been more productive and rewarding for us. We have accomplished so much and are so amazed at the overwhelming opportunities on the Isle of I Can't. In fact, we have had so much success working with the children and the youth and helped so many of them realize they can do anything they put their mind to. When we first arrived on the isle, we heard nothing but negativity, pessimism, and complaints about what we hoped to accomplish. They all murmured that we wouldn't be able to accomplish anything worthwhile or productive while on their isle. At first, some of our I Can people were saddened and pained by their negative comments, and some were momentarily downcast and felt despair. But that didn't last for very long. We went to work and began doing things. Several of the children and teenagers had never done any work in their lives, and most didn't think they could do anything because they were all told they are I Can't individuals, and that they can't be successful or won't amount to much, so they shouldn't even bother trying. We told them that kind of thinking was wrong. "How dare you corrupt our youth and teach them they can do anything they believe they can?" yelled one of the I Can't men. "We showed the children and the youth that we believed in them, and gave them a little encouragement. That was all they needed. It really didn't take very much or very long before we were surrounded by many I Can attitudes. It was wonderful to see the change and know that they can do anything if they believe they can. The majority of the adults are still as negative as they were before, but we have hope for the rising generation." Both parties debated for some time about how effective or ineffective the exchange had been, and both parties decided to continue living their lives as they had before. What did change on the island of I Can and on the Isle of I Can't were the children and the teenagers. Many, but not all, of the children and teenagers on the Isle of I Can't began to believe, for the first time, in themselves. They began to think and say, "I can," and it slowly began to make a difference on the isle. More and more I Can attitudes were being cultivated and developed on the Isle of I Can't. Many became very productive because of their hard work and positive belief, and many were very successful in most everything they did because they believed they could. Unfortunately, the same effect had happened on the island of I Can. Many of the children and teenagers were negatively affected by the I Can't visitors who had told them for almost 2 years straight that they couldn't and wouldn't be successful or productive in life. They discouraged the children and teens so much from setting goals and actively participating in life that many of the youth began to believe the lies they heard. They felt they weren't good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, or capable enough to accomplish anything, and many, far too many, began to lose interest in doing their best and being their best. Some didn't try because they believed they would make mistakes and fail. Before the 2-year trade, everyone on the island of Ican had encouraged the children, teenagers, and adults to actively try and not to worry about making mistakes or perceived failures. Everyone knew they were only stepping stones to true success. That, of course, had changed. Now, both the island of Ican and the Isle of I Can't had I can attitudes and I can't beliefs as well. Both perspectives were prevalent. Both groups of people were trying to coexist and work together. The I cans and the I can'ts are both correct. They can and cannot do whatever they believe they can and cannot do. Now, that is a simple parable. And again, this parable, it's about 4 pages long, and it's from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. This is a book that I had published a few years ago, actually. This is back from 2017, so it's been a few years. And it's found on page 143, a short and simple parable titled, The Island of I Can and the Isle of I Can't. But I want you to think about the island of I Can and the Isle of I Can't. Each day we have the opportunity to choose where we want to live. Do you want to live on the island of I Can, or do you want to banish yourself to the Isle of I Can't? The choice is yours. You have that power to choose. You can choose what you can and cannot accomplish, what you will and will not do. The choice is yours. It doesn't matter what your circumstances may be. It doesn't matter what your level of education may be. It does not matter at all about your background, your race, your religion, your ethnicity. Nothing about what has happened to you, the environment, or your parents or grandparents, or where you grew up, or what you have been taught. None of that can take away your power to choose. The choice is yours. Yes, you may have negative beliefs because of I can't individuals who have tried to manipulate you or have tried to hurt you physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially, any number of areas in life. Every day we have the choice. We can be better or bitter. We can be on the island of I Can or the Isle of I Can't. It's a choice, but only we can make that choice. And then we must live with the consequences of the choices we have chosen. Again, choices, consequences, and change. We choose. Again, think of the title of this podcast, Choices, Consequences, and Change. Now, we make the choices. No one can make our choices for us. But we must live with the choices we make. Although we can choose our choices, we cannot choose the consequences, the natural repercussions and consequences that come as a result of the choices we have chosen to choose. But we can change. We make choices. The natural consequences will naturally impact us and those around us. But we can change for the better. We can change what we tell ourselves, what we think about ourselves. We can change how we see the world. We can change our beliefs, our values, our attitudes. We can change our habits. We can change what we do not do. We can change what we say, what we do not say. And it will ultimately change how we live and who we become in the process. For the Motivation in a Minute portion of this podcast, I would like to read an inspirational quote from Norman Vincent Peale. And again, this is from my book, Perceptions, Parables, and Pointers. It's found on page 200. Norman Vincent Peale said this: "Change your thoughts, and you change your world." It starts by thinking differently. The thoughts we think impact the words we speak. First you think, and then you speak. And then once you speak and say what you've thought about saying, then you begin to act out and do what you have been thinking and speaking about, either for better or for worse. Good thoughts will often bring about good words, and good words will often bring about good deeds and actions. And the reverse is also true. If you have bad or negative thoughts, it leads to bad or negative speaking, which leads to destructive deeds. And then we bring about our own demise and downfall. But we can change our thoughts. For the Music Within portion of this podcast, I would like to have you listen to Effortless. This is an instrumental pop piece that features the piano as the primary instrument, but we have drums, guitars, keyboards, synths, and other instruments with it. And it's from my album, Effortless. The piano music for this, if anyone would like to play this, is found in my book, Essential Pop Piano Exercises Every Piano Player Should Know. It's part of my Essential Piano Exercise series. Currently, there are 5 books in that series for piano students, where we have Essential Pop Piano Exercises Every Piano Player Should Know, Essential New Age Piano Exercises Every Piano Player Should Know, Essential Jazz Piano Exercises Every Piano Player Should Know, Essential Piano Exercises Every Piano Player Should Know, and 100 Left-Hand Patterns Every Piano Player Should Know. So currently there are 5 books in that series. We have about 10 more books I will be adding to that series very shortly. And so I'm excited about that series. It's the best-selling series we have, but I'd love to have you check that out. You can go to musicmotivation.com and check that out. This is Effortless. Hope you enjoy listening to this. For the Poetry That Motivates portion of this podcast, I would like to read I Choose. This is from my book, Poetry That Motivates, and it's found on page 76. I wrote this poem a few years ago, but it says, I choose. Let me read this to you. I choose. I am the one to decide and choose what future fate I'll befriend, what positive characteristics I'd like to possess, and who I hope I'll become in the end. I choose to be happy. I choose to be true. I choose to be honest and good. I choose to help others and believe in the best. I choose to do what I should. I choose not to listen as the naysayers cluck, complaining about misfortunes and their aversion to luck. If I can decide and choose for myself, then I possess powers beyond belief. I can assist and I can endeavor to provide others with necessary relief. I choose to be noble. I choose to be brave. I choose to believe I can. I choose to improve and outdo myself. I choose to be better than I currently am. Simple words, but it has a profound impact when we choose to be the best version of ourselves. The choice is ours. We can choose each day how we want to live our lives. Right now, I'd like to give you 5 actionable steps to take that will change the way you live your life. Step 1. Write down 3 to 5 changes you'd like to make in your life, starting today. The 3 main areas that I tell individuals to focus on making a change in their life, first and foremost, is to focus on their faith. For me, this is putting my faith and trust in God. For others, it may mean putting faith in themselves or a higher power or nature or whatever they may believe. Everything I do must be done in thanks to my Heavenly Father. So, change how you interact with your Heavenly Father, God, nature, whatever you want to call it. Change the way you believe, how you see the world. I also encourage people to change what they do with their families, how they spend their time. Create a better relationship with your family. Put God first, then family, and then I encourage people to focus on their health. Now, it could be their physical health, which they should do. It could be their mental health, their spiritual health, social health. There are different ways that you can focus on your health and well-being. But if you will focus on those 3 primary areas of life, God, family, and health and well-being, those 3 areas will help you in all other areas of your life, whether it be work, recreation, hobbies, you name it. Put God first, then family, then your health and well-being, and then everything else will fall into place. Step 2, become an I can individual. Every time you are given an opportunity, believe in yourself. Know that you can accomplish whatever you set out to accomplish. Tell yourself, I can, and be an I can individual. Believe in yourself. Believe in your ability. Become who you were born to be. As long as you know that you can accomplish whatever you hope to accomplish, you will accomplish what you want to accomplish. Become an I can individual. Step 3, stop saying I can't, and instead, I want you to say this, but what if I could? You tell yourself I can't, and you won't. That's all there is to it. As soon as you say I can't, you have instantly instilled in your brain that you won't. But if instead you say, but what if I could? Then that changes your entire perspective and outlook on life. It changes the thoughts you think, the words you speak, and the deeds you do. Again, stop saying I can't, and instead say, but what if I could? And that will make all the difference in how you choose to live life today. Step 4, choose the best. In life, it may not be a decision between good and bad. It seldom is. Often, it's a choice between good, better, and best. And you have the opportunity and the privilege to choose the best out of life. You could have 100 books that are pretty good, some that are very good books. But if you narrowed that list of 100 good books down to the top 10 best books that will change and transform your life, you need to be reading those top 10 best books. Focus on best. And put that first. Step 5, habitually change for the better. Life is all about change. Every day we are changing. Every day we have new inventions, we have new discoveries, we have new beliefs or thoughts or perspectives or ideas. Change is inevitable. We must be willing to change and be willing to adapt. We must be willing to understand that as we change for the better, we will improve and progress. And we will become better individuals because we understand that change not only impacts and changes us, it will transform our lifestyle, the thoughts we think, the words we speak, the deeds we do. And we will be able to be better individuals because of what we have experienced. But that comes from embracing change. Don't be afraid to change. Change your habits. If you get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, try getting up at 6. Change your habit. During that 1 hour difference, what can you accomplish? If you come home from work and all you do is watch sports games on TV, and you don't spend any time with your children or your spouse, how would your life change if you stopped watching all sporting events? And that may be a very big challenge for most people. But how would your life change as you change? Again, it's focusing on good, better, best. But what we are doing is we are trying to habitually change. We're always trying to choose what is better and best for us. Yes, you can do something that is good, and it's good to do. I'm not saying that watching sporting events is a bad thing, although I don't do that. I would rather go to an actual sporting event and see it live when the Olympics are on. I love watching the Olympics because you are watching the best, the very best athletes from around the world compete, and you are seeing excellence. And I love thinking of the determination, the work ethic, what they put into it, and what they have sacrificed for the ultimate goal of winning a gold medal, being on the podium with either a gold, silver, or bronze. But you have the opportunity each and every day to change what you do habitually, and that will completely transform your life. Again, we are focusing on the thoughts we think, the words we speak, and the deeds we do. If you will focus on these 5 actionable steps, it will change your life. Again, the 5 steps that I would like to have you take starting today. Step 1, write down 3 to 5 changes you'd like to make in your life. Step 2, become an I can individual. Step 3, stop saying I can't and instead say, but what if I could? Step 4, choose the best. Instead of good or better, always focus on what is the best. And step 5, habitually change for the better each day. Those 5 actionable steps will help you transform your life from being banished and an outcast on the Isle of I can't to living on the island of I can. And as you do so, you will become an I can individual, and you will be one of the examples, teaching the youth and the children to believe in their dreams, to set goals, to accomplish, to do more, to be more, to put themselves out there and not be afraid of failure. Remember, failure is only a stepping stone toward success. As we continue, we have these stepping stones toward success, and that is something that we should learn how to embrace. Failure. Failure can become our friend if we let it. Learn from failure. Remember, choices will have either good or bad consequences. The repercussions will affect you and impact you. But you can always change for the better. In everything you do, be an I can individual and change your thoughts, your words, and the deeds you do. And it will ultimately change your lifestyle. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a great day today. Thank you for listening and continue to do your best in all you do. I come out with these podcasts on music, motivation, and more because I want to help inspire and motivate each of us, including myself, to be our best and strive to continually do better. It is about becoming who we were born to be, and that is what we can do as we strive to be I can individuals. Have a great day. Thanks again for listening. See you. Bye. Subscribe to Music, Motivation, and More, the Positivity Podcast, to receive updates of each new weekly podcast produced and released by Jerald Simon. new podcast is recorded and released on Mondays. Listen on any podcast platform of your preference. But I'd love to have you listen to my music as well. You can listen to my music and find my artist name, Jerald Simon, Jerald Simon. You can listen on Spotify, on Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon, all the different streaming platforms. I would love to have you check out my YouTube channel. It is youtube.com/Jerald Simon. JeraldSimon. I have Motivation in a Minute and poetry that motivates videos that I have produced, in addition to my own music videos and music educational instructional tutorials that I've created to help teach music the fun way. I'd love to have you check it out. I'd love to connect with you on social media. You can connect with me on any social media platform. You can go to facebook.com/Jerald Simon. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the different social pages at Jerald Simon. JeraldSimon. But I'd love to have you check out my music. Let me know what you think. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys have a great day.